and welcome, fight fans. It's your boy Jeff, as always, and welcome to another episode of the Undercard. Today we are going to be talking about the fights that went down last night. Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas. What a amazing event. Originally, when I first started to rate this on my predictions, I rated this a 4.5 out of 5, and I am happy to say that this was actually a 5 out of 5 main card affair. Each and every single one of these fights were just amazing. Ton of action, no rounds taking off. Everybody came to fight, and wow, we had some knockouts. We had a couple unanimous decisions. This was absolutely a great entertaining card. For y'all that missed it, crying shame. Y'all better get on that DAZN train. They are starting to put on they're starting to put on bigger and better fights all the time. They've always got stacked cards, you know. I'm afraid people are starting to sleep on it because it was such an entertaining night of boxing. First fight that we're going to talk about is the Joseph Parker versus Shadwell Winters fight. This was a 5th round TKO by Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker is looking really good, really strong. He is looking very trim. He's light. He came in at 245 pounds. Everything just looked super tight on him. He was just fucking, muscles popping. His cardio didn't look too bad at all. He was the much bigger fighter between these two guys, but I thought this was going to be just Parker kind of steamrolling, which, I mean, I guess he kind of did, but Shadwell Winters was able to show that he had some great skill, This was not the most prettiest fight. This was more of an ugly bullying fight. Joseph Parker, being the bigger man, came in and was really leaning up against Winters, right? Making Winters work, backing him up. Most of this fight took place on the ropes, but Winters was able to put Parker in his place a couple of times. He even ended up cutting him over his right eye, and he was throwing a couple good check hooks. He even made Parker kind of wince pretty hard there, I believe, in the second, right? Winters was doing a great job of rolling his shoulder and landing some nasty uppercuts. The ref also did a great job of letting these two individuals fight out of the scrum, which I like to see. I usually don't like it when referees come in and they break it up too quickly. I like to see the fighters fight in that clinch a little bit, and this was just an absolute barn burner, Unfortunately, though, Winters was just unable to deal with Joseph Parker's power. Parker was starting to get that feeler jab out there and just coming in with an overhand right. He started to rock Winters in the second round with that. He was able to put Winters down in the third round and eventually put him away in the fifth. Same thing, just overhand rights. Parker is just looking phenomenal at this point. It's great to see this guy back on the win trail. He had lost his previous two, not his previous two, he actually won his previous two, but the two before that was against Dillian White and Anthony Joshua. So when you've lost to big boys like that and you start to make a big comeback, it's a great thing for the heavyweight division. I think Parker will be challenging soon for a title at some point. If we don't get Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder figured out by the summertime, and we don't have Fury versus Joshua, we're probably going to see a Joshua versus Parker fight, maybe late in the year. Parker has come out stating that he does want to stay active, so it was good to get one fight done out of the way early on this year. Hopefully, again, he'll fight maybe sometimes towards the summer, late summer, and then one more time before New Year. His plan was to fight 3 big fights. As for Winters, I'm not sure exactly what's in the cards for him, but he is an aging journeyman, so I don't know if we're going to see much more of him, but possibly another 1 or 2 showings. It's not like he was completely outclassed. He was just a much smaller fighter, and you could see right away that there was a massive size difference between these two fighters, but he came out there to bang, and he put on a good show. This was a really good fight to open up the card. This next one was an absolute war. At first, I had thought originally in my prediction, I had thought that Jay Harris was going to end up with the dub. He was the undefeated fighter. But Julio Cesar Martin, this guy is a world beater. This guy looks great in the 112-pound division. I don't even know if he was using a jab this whole fight. He was just landing so many body shots, so many clean body shots. He would counter Harris and just land to the body and land to the body. And, after time and time again going to the well and going to the body, he finally was able to drop Harris in the 10th round. Harris did manage to get back up. This one went the distance, but, credit to Jay Harris. Jay Harris stuck in there, and he was banging. Even though Harris has the better record, Martinez has put in the time. He has fought those big names. And I was a little bit concerned coming out of the first round, to be honest. Jay Harris seemed like he was a little bit as in shock as to the power of Martin, the skill level of Martin. But, all credit due to Harris. He was able to prove that he was game, that he had just as much skills. He did belong in that ring, and this was a great fight. Like I said, this was a 12-round war. This was amazing. I was originally calling for a knockout. I thought Harris maybe was going to be using his length, but he was unable to utilize that to his advantage. One thing that I do notice, I think for Jay Harris to possibly be an effective fighter, he might need to move up a weight class and pack on a little bit of muscle. I just don't think his punches were phasing Martin's at all. Martinez was just able to kind of like bulldog his way in there and just kept coming and just kept coming. He was just this pesky fighter that just wouldn't go away, and he would just always be in Harris's face. Like I said, this was a great fight. There was lots of action. These guys went to war. Harris was obviously a little bit more beat up, but he did land a couple good ones on Martinez. This was a great fight, and looking to see more from Harris in the future, even though he got a loss. And we're going to see what's next for Martinez. Martinez is possibly going to move up a weight class, which could be a little bit on the dangerous side for him. He is a smaller fighter, but in this fight, he was the bigger fighter, that's for sure, and his power, Harris definitely had a problem with it. Now, possibly Martinez is looking to go and fight the winner of this next fight here that we're about to talk about, and this fight is between Kal Yafai, I don't know why I had so much trouble saying that, versus Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. I expect to see maybe a Martins versus Gonzalez fight, possibly. It would be a very entertaining scrap, but this being said, I would like to see Gonzalez back down to the 112 and not fighting in the 118-pound division. Now, this fight here was an entertaining fight. This one kind of, as I had predicted, I predicted that somebody was going to get knocked out. However, I didn't get the right person getting knocked out. I honestly thought Yafai was going to be fighting intelligence in this fight, but lo and behold, one round in, threw that game plan out the window, I guess. And I guess it wasn't really his game plan, because he was looking to stand in the pocket and trade punches with Chocolatito, which, over the course of the fight, as you saw, this got later into the later rounds, that this style of fight definitely favored Chocolatito. Chocolatito just looked so strong, and he's just a guy that's used to fighting wars. He's just a more crisper fighter, inside the pocket. I don't know why Yafai wanted to get into this war. You know, it just didn't serve him no purpose. It didn't serve him in the long run. You know, Yafai had a great first round. He had kind of a shitty second round, and then in the third he had a decent round, but then you could see that things were starting to slip away in the fourth. You know, Yafai was starting to slow down. He was looking a little bit gassed, and Yafai was the bigger man in this fight. You know, I honestly thought that if Yafai was able to stand outside of the pocket and, you know what I mean, utilize his jab, that he was going to burn Chocolatito out, because Chocolatito would have to come in, because Chocolatito is the type of fighter that likes to fight in the pocket, you know. And you know, he was able to drop Yafai in the sixth round, and then he put him away in the ninth with a TKO. Or I believe he dropped him in the seventh and then dropped him in the ninth again. And you know, Chocolatito is now back to being a world champion again, and we'll see exactly who he's going to fight next. Maybe he'll possibly retire. Who knows? We'll see. But, you know, what a great fight by both these guys. Yafai will definitely have to bounce back. You know, maybe he's got a clause to exercise against Chocolatito so that they can have a rematch, which, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing these guys put on a good show, but I'd like to see Yafai fight a smarter game plan. I don't know why he thought he could just sit there and, you know, hang in the pocket with Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a beast of a man, and that's like probably the one guy you don't want to be doing that with. And he paid the price for it, unfortunately. Now, for this main card, holy Christ, this was really good. Jesse Vargas versus Mikey Garcia. As mentioned before, Mikey Garcia is jumping up from welterweight division, that's the 140-pound division, jumping up to the 147-pound division. And last time Garcia was here, he fought Earl Spence Jr., and he ended up losing. He got KO'd, I believe it was. And he just didn't look too great in that fight. Now, Garcia's had a year to bounce back, and he had said previously that he and his trainers felt like he wasn't built for that fight. You know, he needed to really pack the muscle on properly, hydrate properly, and, you know, there was mistakes, and he admitted to that, and this time he was looking to correct those mistakes. And, you know, you gotta like Garcia's attitude. You know, everyone was telling him that this was not a good move for him, and, you know, a guy like Garcia just wanted to prove everybody wrong, that he does belong in the 147-pound division. And you know what? He really does. He looked absolutely amazing in this fight. However, he didn't look so sharp in the first 5 rounds. You know, the first 5 rounds, Vargas came out and he was fighting as he should have. He was the bigger, longer fighter. He was putting the pace on Garcia, but Garcia, much like Chocolatito, is just a little pit bull. He just kept coming, you know what I mean? And he was just always in Vargas's face. Garcia was able to drop Jesse in the 5th round, and after that, the course of the fight just changed. You know, it never really looked like Vargas really got his legs underneath him. Garcia was able to crack him again in the 7th and in the 10th, you know, put him back on wobbly legs. Wasn't able to drop him, but was clearly winning the fight. Vargas, you know, to his credit, possibly snuck in and won the last 2 rounds, you know, was using his jab well, and was just, you know, he was just fighting like a fighter that that was in trouble and that was just trying to hang on, you know. This was a great scrap. I was expecting to see a knockout, but I did have Garcia for the win. That being said, I think the next fight that Garcia is looking for, he is probably going to be looking for a fight against Manny Pacquiao, which, I mean, that'll be a big, huge payday for the kid. You know, not too many people are talking about Garcia, right? And fortunately, when it comes to fights and big paydays such as this, you need to have like those world-renowned superstars, much like a Pacquiao. And even though Pacquiao is kind of like way past his prime. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good fighter and everything, you know what I mean? But the era of Pacquiao, we're probably what, maybe like 8-10 years removed from that, right? So regardless though, you know what I mean, like Garcia will be in tough against a guy like Manny, right? So you know, really looking forward, hoping that that fight can get made, you know, and I think it'll be very exciting for the sport of boxing. And, you know, a guy like Garcia deserves a big fat paycheck like that. As for Vargas, I think Vargas is going to get back to the drawing board, kind of figure out a few things and kind of get back at it. You know, we'll see him again in the ring, I'm sure, in the next 6 months, right? He's going to stay sharp. And I think he's going to possibly move down to the 145 pound. Maybe he'll stay at 147. We'll see. I'm not too sure. But all in all, what a great card. DAZN is putting on some really good fights. And, you know, y'all should probably drop a little bit of coin and get on that. You know, for the price that you're paying, you are getting high level fights, you know, and let's just face it, that whole like pay-per-view buy for fights, right, is just a crock for what you're going to pay for one event. You know what I mean? You are going to be able to watch boxing all year round on DAZN. And that's all I'm going to say. This is not an advertisement for DAZN, but, you know, people who want to spend their money wisely, you should look into it. You know, you guys got guys like you know, such as I says Garcia, Vargas, you know, they've got big names like Parker, right? They've got Anthony Joshua, right? They've got some pretty big names going on here, and it's worth it, right? You know, on top of that too, they've also got MMA, Bellator, right? You know, and if you're a fight fan, definitely check out DAZN. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for chilling out with me today, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.